Recording in progress.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Art 196, Introduction to Designing Web Graphics for the spring semester 2022. Today we're going to continue with navigation in Dreamweaver. And so I will begin by reviewing what we covered last Thursday, and then we'll move on to the nav bar itself. That will be the trickiest part of all of this. And what we will be doing is we'll start by fixing the nav bar to the top, because as we scroll, down the page, you'll notice the nav bar scrolls with it. We want it fixed to the top. And that's really a smart thing to do, so that no matter how far down the viewer scrolls, they will always have their your navigation bar fixed to the top for easy access. So we'll begin by that. And then the next thing that we'll be doing is that for green events, we will be adding a drop-down menu. And that's where it gets pretty tricky. It's all very doable, but it's easy to make mistakes, very easy. So let me go ahead and go over some of the rules of navigation. If you recall, I talked about there's really three different kinds of navigation, or four maybe. We have internal, or let's say relative and absolute links. Relative links are those that occur if you want to link to, for example, another page in your root folder. That would be a relative link. If you want and so you would generally use or an internal link. So relative links don't require the entire URL. It just requires, for example, a link to the other page, and we would see that down here. Now, right now, you can see that I have Meridian highlighted. And so before I go, I jump over and I show you the relative link. This is an example of an absolute link. So by highlighting the text, that's all you have to do. Or you can select an image, or if you recall, what I did before is that in design view, I selected a target here for it. Then what you can do, so let's go back. I'm going to select the text first, because that's what a large part of this is in here, is highlighting text that you want to turn into a link. And you can see that we have with the link button up here, this is one area that you can copy paste, or you can put in the link down below. And so this would be a good example of an absolute link, where it would be an external link that lies outside of your root folder. And so in that instance, you do need the entire URL. You need HTTP or HTTPS:// and the link to that website. Then my recommendation is for absolute links that link to an external site, that you use the target blank, so that when you click on that, it will open up a brand new tab in your browser. And it will be easy for the viewer to navigate and to go back to your website and to continue watching or in reading and exploring what you have. If you don't do that, it will the absolute link, whatever you link to and click on it, will replace the current page with the link that the viewer has clicked on. And if they do that enough times, they're going to get lost. So I think it's important, as I said, for relative links. Let me show you a relative link. Let's go ahead and I'm going to highlight in the nav bar here. Now, remember, I can't, it's locked. So I can't use that in this page. So what do I have to do? I need to go back to our Dreamweaver template. And now if I highlight one of these links, it allows me to explore it. And when I click and I drag on the text, if we look here, it's grayed out. But if I switch from live view to design view, you can see that it has ... /news.html. So what that's doing is it's going to the news page. So if I look over here, my right-hand column where I have the Files tab open, there's a variety of ways to access or create that link. You go ahead and you highlight the text, and you can either do that there or in the page itself, or you can do that in the code view. It really doesn't matter. And then what we can do is that down here at the bottom, I can go ahead and I can use the target, which is what I like to do, where you just click and you drag, and then you make sure that you have select, that's green news. So I'm going to make sure that I select the news tab. Okay. And then it automatically adds the correct link down here. That's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is to select the folder here and click on it. So if I click on that, it will take us to our root folder, and you can select the correct page from here. Okay. So there you have the basic links. Now there's also internal links. So that's what we're going to look at next. And if we go to, let me switch back here before I go over to the other page. I'm going to go to the events page. And in the events page, if you recall, one of the things that we wanted to do was to add a return to top, because these are deep tables and it requires a lot of scrolling. So if we want to, either from another page or from within this page, if you want to return to the top of the page, we can simply select it. Okay. And if we look at the code down here under return to top, it has an href of what is it? It's Octothorpe is what I like to call it, because that's the official name. Top. Well, how does it determine the top? Well, you have to go back to the template, and we had to specify an anchor here. And so what we did was we went to the nav. Okay. And let's see, did I go here? Yep, I wanted one div before that, which was the class row. And then what you do, with that selected, you'll notice that I added it here. And you can also go hit Command T to make that change there. And where you have the div, put a space, and then you put ID equals, in quotes, top. So this determines the top of your page. Likewise, we can do that for the other sections of the page as well. And we've done that as well, so that if you want to, later today when we add the green events dropdown, that I can specify a particular section of a page that it goes to. And again, IDs are the most specific, and those are prefaced with an Octothorpe. The next down is the class, and those start with that we've used several times. It starts with a dot or a period, and then the name of the class. And then if it is an HTML tag or whatever, you don't need to add any of that. So you just add, for example, H2. But then you have to remember for an H2 tag, you have to remember that it will affect all H2 tags unless there is some throughout your entire website, unless you have a class that overrides it and makes it more specific. And as I said, with the ID tag, that is the most specific of all, and you can only have one, use it once per page. So I can only have one ID named top on a page, and that's it. Okie doke. So let's go back to events again, and I will show you again what I mean. That we have the return to top, but I also, and I don't remember whether I was able to do this last Thursday or not, but what I did is that in here I selected anywhere inside the table is fine. And then what we need to do is we need to select the section, the entire section. And you'll notice that we have applied an ID to this group or this particular table. And again, it's because it is an ID, it starts with the Octothorpe hashtag, whatever you want to call it. And then we named it calendar. So from anywhere else on our website or from another website, if you wanted to target this specific section on a page, you would add that to the link. Okay, and likewise to the one down here for classes. Again, I click anywhere inside here and I select the section because this is where I added it. You could probably add it to the table itself, but you'll notice that I added the ID hashtag classes. So anywhere else we apply that, that's what we'll use. So I hope that gets everybody up to speed here with regard to navigation. So the next step now is so that we're going to start by fixing the nav bar to the top of the page. And that's done first inside the template. Okay. So what we're going to do here is we're going to select the nav menu itself. So let's go ahead and I want to select. There we go. So we have nav bar default. So I just clicked anywhere inside the nav bar. Now what I want to do is I want to hit Command T or Control T. And what I'm going to add to that default within the quotes is I'm going to put I'm going to put a space here first. Whoops. I'm going to put nav bar. Make sure that I spell it right. Nav bar hyphen fixed top, and I put a hyphen there, top. Okay. Hit the return key. Make sure that I did this right with all the, there we go. And now what we should see if we update this, so let's refresh. And not a thing happened. So I need to go back and let's try that again. I'm going to make sure that we have the template selected. I want to go back to, let's go back to nav. Again, if it's not working, then I need to make sure that it's fixed. So what I could do though, before I do that, is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say, save all, and it will update the pages. Now let me go ahead and close. No, I don't want to stop. Maybe I misspelled. I did. That's why it's not working. I told you I cannot type to save my soul. I put navar fix top. It's nav bar. Come on. Nav bar fixed top. Now it's working. So I need to save it all again. Notice how the ends of the nav bar extend all the way to the edge of the page now. And when you scroll, it will remain fixed. I think that's a really solid design concept. So before I save all though, notice that part of the header is missing now. So now what we need to do is we need to go inside our CSS designer and make sure that we have green style selected, make sure that we have global selected. Now what we want to do is we want to go to where we had header. So I'm going to start by doing a search here for header. And we want to go to header.row. So let's go to that header.row right here. And what we need to do is we need to add margins to the top to push it down. So right now we don't have any margins, but watch what happens when I go ahead and I add 52 pixels to the top. How do I know I need 52 pixels? Because the textbook tells me. But at the same time, when you're doing it yourself, you would have to play with this until you find a happy medium here. So I'm going to put in 52 pixels. And there you go. Now the entire header is visible. So the header had to push the nav bar up a little bit, because by fixing it to the top, it covered part of it. Why? I don't know. But that's just the way it works. Okay, so now before I do anything else, before I affect the rest of the nav bar and we pursue adding a drop-down menu to this, I'm going to make sure that the template is saved. So I'll go File, Save All. So that saves not only the changes that I've made to the HTML, the page, but also, more importantly, the styles. So it will take a minute here to make sure that they're all done. It says that it's done. I can close it, and all the pages have been updated. So the next step now is to create a drop-down menu. We can't do that from here, even though we're in the template. Again, why? I'm not sure. So what we have to do is we're going to create a child page from the template, put it in the template folder, make changes to it after we have detached it from the template itself. And then once the changes have been made and they're thoroughly, updated and correct, then we can go back over to the template and paste in the new nav bar. So again, it's kind of a convoluted approach, but we'll see how far we get today. See what we can do. So I'm going to start by saving. I'll go File. Actually, I've already saved it. So what I want to do now is I want to open. So I'm going to go ahead, or new rather, from template. I want to create a child page. There we go. So we have, it's basically a duplicate of what we already have. But now what I want to do is I want to save it. File, Save As, just regular HTML. And I'm going to name it navbar. Let's see, what do they tell us to name it? No, they name it drop-down. So it could be that. That makes more sense. Drop-down HTML. Drop-down. Now, where do I save it? I make sure that I save it inside the templates folder, just so I know where it's at, but it's a regular HTML. It is not a template. Okay. Now, we'll notice that we have our drop-down HTML. It's saved in the templates folder, but if I try to edit any of this, I can't. Because remember, the nav bar and the header and the footer are locked. So what I have to do is I have to detach it from the template to be able to make the changes that we want. How you do that is that if I try right now to go to Tools, and I go to Templates, and I want to detach from template, it is grayed out. And if you're wondering, well, why is it grayed out? Then what it's telling me to do is that I have to go from Live View to Design View. Now I can detach it from the template. Why does it require that we go to the Design View? I don't know. So I'm going to go to, but that's just what you have to do. So now we'll go back to Tools again. I'll go back to Templates, and now it will allow me to detach it from the template. Boom. Okay. So I've made a change. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save it. So now it's been updated. So now what we want to do, I'm going to go back from here. I'm going to go back to Live View and see if I can do it there. I want to select right after green events. I'll click in here, and I want to make sure that it's right after that. So let me go ahead and, well, let's go ahead and select green events. Let's go ahead and select it. And I want to go ahead and I want to add a new element to this that is a bootstrap, and it will be a drop-down, the drop-down menu. So I'm going to switch from CSS Designer to Insert, make sure that bootstrap components are selected, not HTML. And then what I want to do is I want to come down here where it says, where do I want? I want nav pills with drop down. That's what I want. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add that. And it asks me, where do I want to put it? I want to put it after that link. Okay. The component is not fully compatible with the current bootstrap, so I'll just say yes. Okay, this could cause problems later on. Notice how it added it. So we have pill 1, pill 2, and we have drop down. So what I want to do now is I want to get rid of pill 1 and pill 2. And then we're going to rename drop down to green events. But then we need to take the drop down elements and we need to style them. In the normal view and with the hover state, it already works just fine. It's adopting that. And the same with the pill 1 and pill 2. So that we're in good shape. So if I take pill 1, and there's another thing that we need to do is that there's some parts of the code that are a little bit messed up that we need to fix. So what I need to do here, once I've done that, is let's get rid of pill 1 and pill 2. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the entire list item that has pill 1 selected, and I'm going to get rid of it. Okay. Come on. Let's update it. Let's go back to files and let's go ahead and refresh. Let's go ahead and get rid of pill 2. I'll get rid of it. Just delete it. Now I'm going to go ahead and go up. And it's not being affected because what it does, and this is what's kind of weird about it, is that there's an element down here where it adds an additional bit of code that we need to get rid of. Why it does that, it's just sort of a glitch, I would say, with Dreamweaver. So it should be around 43 and 44. Mine might be a little bit different. It's after the closing tag of this list item. We want to take the opening tag of UL, and where we have the opening tag of UL class navbar nav, it's in my code, it's 44 and 45, and we're going to get rid of those. Okay, now let's see, by refreshing it, it got rid of it. It takes removing the code to do that. So I have the drop down, I have green events, drop down will become green events, and we will add specific to that. If I click here, you don't see anything. But if I come up here and I say that I want to hide live view displays, now when I click on it, you can see that we have action, another action, and separated link. It's these things that we still need to style. And we need to action, we need to rename that, we need to rename another action, and we need to add a link to that, to the specific page of events, and also the section in here. This will be calendar, and this will be classes. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click again to close it. And I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to turn off hide live display views. So I have that again. Now I'm going to leave the drop down. If I want, I can go ahead and I can just highlight this and I can rename it Green Events. Okay. Let me go back here. There we go. So now I need to select this link in here. Now let's find it. Here's the list item here with the Ahref events, and I need to get rid of it. Okay, so highlight it. Make sure that you have the opening and closing tag. Always do that. And let's get rid of it. And everything should fit properly now once we do that. Let's refresh. Why aren't you getting rid of it? Oh, because I didn't get rid of it. I highlighted it and I deleted it. There we go. Wait a minute, I don't want green. Let me undo that. I don't want to get rid of green news. I want green events. So make sure that I have green events selected. Come on. It is gone. Why isn't it updating? So I should be able to hit this refresh button and it should refresh and get rid of it. So let's go ahead and I'm going to save everything and hit refresh. I'll go back and say save all. And by updating all of the changes, by saving it, it got rid of that. So now we're back to where we should be. Okie doke. So we're at a good place now. Now that we've gotten rid of that, we've renamed it. Now what we want to do is style the drop-down menu. As I said, because if I click up here and I go ahead and I select, I thought I'd turn that off. There we go. We need to style this so that we have changed the color of the background. Now the hover states work just fine. The normal state though, the text needs to change the yellow. The background needs to change to the color that we have back here. So that's the next tricky part. So I'm going to go ahead and go back here. Let's close that and make sure that I have that turned off again. Hide. There we go. Okie doke. So to override, because this drop-down toggle is Bootstrap, and we don't want to change any of the Bootstrap code. That's really critical. We just want to override some of it with our own code here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch from files to the CSS designer. And what I'm going to do under green styles, let's make sure that green style is selected and that we want to select global. We're going to go ahead and we're going to add our own, and this will be to top. Remember that we renamed the row to hashtag top. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and add a new selector. And I want it to be hashtag or octothorpe top. I want space dot drop down menu. You can go ahead and add that right here. And then I want right caret. And I want it to be list item and right caret A. Whoops. Right caret A. Hit the return key twice. Okie doke. So let's go ahead and click in here. Here we have our new selector here. And now we need to add properties to it. So we're going to start by adding padding. And we're going to add padding all the way around. of 10 pixels. So we can do that. And again, I'm looking at the book myself for that. And I'm just using the shorthand. And remember, if you just put one number here, it applies it to the top, right, bottom, and left as well. The color, we're going to use FFC. What is the color? That refers to the text. So I'm going to go to text, and we're going to go to color, and I'm going to put in FFC. That is the that's the color, the yellow color of the text. So let's go ahead and hit tab for that. We're going to make sure that the text is aligned to the center. So we're going to make sure that alignment is centered, not flush left, which is the default. And then we want to change the background color. So the background color is under background. Okay, and the background color we're going to change to, we already have it here, but again, I can't remember which number. So it's hashtag or Octothorpe 08A, 08A. There we go, it's that blue. And we'll go ahead and click. Okay, so we've made another change. And now we want to add a border to the top and a border to the bottom. So I'll switch to borders over here. And the border to the top is going to be select top. We want the style to be solid. Okay, we want the width to be 1 pixel. Let's go ahead here. 1. There we go. And we want the color to be 069. There we go. 069. 069. Okie doke. So let's go ahead and toggle this and see what we have before we go any further. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to say hide live view displays. And when I click on here, you'll notice that the color of the text has changed, that we have another color here. We have a separated link. Everything so far is working pretty nicely. Okay. So, but we need to get rid of where it says separated link. And we also need to there'll be a little space here that we need to get rid of. Okay. So we have the A link done. Now we need to do, let's go here. Hold on. I want to pause the recording for a minute. Okay. So what I need to do now is I need to make sure that this is open. And I'm going to create another selector now. Make sure that green styles is selected, global, and plus here. And what I want now is I want it to be Octothorpe top. Again, it's applying it to that. And I want it to be drop down menu. Okay. And I got it. So now I need to add padding to the top and I want none. Okay, so I've got that selected. We need to get rid of take care of the padding. So let's scroll down to padding. Wait a minute. Where's padding? There's padding. So we want padding to be 0 all the way around. So I'll just do it here, 0 pixels. And notice that it removed that bottom part down there. So we're kind of good to go. So now the next step is identifying styling on the interactive elements. So this, again, for me, gets kind of tricky because what we need to do is we need to make sure that this is open. And in order to make these changes, you have to deactivate. If I were to click on here right now, if I wanted to, let's see, where are we here? Freeze JavaScript. I can't do that. So I have to go to the code again, go to the design view to do that. And I have to make sure that this is locked open as we have it now. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to give that a whirl, and then we'll go ahead and we'll see what we can do. So because that is locked, what I need to do is I need to go to, I'm going to go over here, I'm going to go to up here, and I'm going to say we have that done. Now I can, where it says disable JavaScript, I can't. So I'm going to go ahead and let me turn, hold on here. I need to lock that first so that it's locked open. And now let's right click on it and see if it will allow me to now, once it's locked, I can freeze the JavaScript. I don't want to delete it. I just want to freeze it. Okie doke. So now what we want to do is we're going to select the rule. Let's see, it's going to be, so I'm going to go hunting for it here. I want to select the rule .nav. Let's see, space .open. And I want, let's see, so yeah, open. I got to make sure I have all this right because it really gets confusing. Whoops. Open a. So it's .nav space .open right caret a comma .nav space .open right caret a hover and nav space should be .nav, which I forgot to do. Told you, very tricky. So let's go after that. Space. We want .open right caret a focus. Okay, why isn't it finding it? Hold on one second here. I'm going to pause again. So the part that I forgot is that, again, if we're checking Bootstrap, we can find that under .nav, right caret, list item, a hover, and here's the whole thing here. These are global changes. And then here's the one that we were looking for. List item, and then a focus. But you can't change it. It's grayed out because it's Bootstrap, and you don't want to change it. So we're going to go back to green styles. And we're going to go to, again, make sure that we have global selected. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to add a selector down here. So now what we want is, again, hashtag top space .open right caret a comma, and then we also want hashtag top space .open right caret a visited. Okay. Did I do that right? Nope, because after open, I wanted a comma. There we go. So we have top open. Make sure that I have it right. And then A visited. Okay, so I've got that. So far, everything seems to be working okay. Okay, doke. So now what we need to do is get rid of the separated part. So what I need to do now, though, is I need to make sure that I reactivate JavaScript. Now that that's done. So let's go back and open that up. Let's go back here. And I can do it from here. I want to turn JavaScript back on. And now what we can do is we can add the hyperlinks that we need to this. We don't have these yet. So the first thing that we need to do here, let's go ahead and change the name of this. Let me go ahead and lock this down again. So let's turn that off. And I can click in here. And so here what we want, to make sure that I do it right, we want event calendar. I'll do it down here. There we go. When in doubt, when you're having problems with it, just do it there. And then where it says another action here, then we're going to put event classes. There we go. Let's come back up. Let's see, let's go ahead and refresh. And let me go ahead and up here, and I'm going to go ahead and turn that back on. No, it didn't change it. Make sure I have JavaScript turned back on. Let's go back down and see if I have it changed. We have our drop-down menu. We have our separated link, separated role, divider. We need to get rid of those still. So it isn't working quite yet. So let's go ahead and see if I can't update. Let's go back to files. Let's go ahead and save all. And let's go back to files. And let's try to refresh. And it's not working. Even though I've changed it down here, it's not working. So what I need to do is, let's see where we are. I have a little bit more time today. So let me see what I can do. Let me go ahead and pause the recording again real quick. So what the problem was, why it didn't update, is that I had to go back here under toggle this, and where I had hide live view displays, I needed to turn that back off so that when I click here, it refreshed it. So now if I do this again and I say hide displays, we can click and we can turn them on and off. So still, the last things that we need to do is we want to add the links to this. And so to do that, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to, let's see, we're adding the hyperlinks to our drop-down menu. So what I can do that in the code view, or I can click here. Let's go ahead and click it and lock it open again. Let's go ahead and do that. And I can, again, just highlight that. And I can either add the link here, but I don't want it to be, you have to remember to remove the octothorpe. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to get rid of that. Okay. And then what I want to do is I'm going to use the target over here. And for both of these, we want it to go to the events page. So I'm going to go ahead here and go to event. Okay. And it says event, we can add this down here in code view. It says event calendar. Okay. And it says here under the href that we have events.html, but then directly right after that, what I want to do is where we added that ID, I'm going to put that so it'll even be more specific. So I'm going to go ahead and put hashtag and put calendar. Okay, that makes it even more specific. I'm going to do the same for event classes. So I'm going to go ahead and select, make sure that that gets open here. So let's go ahead again. Let's open it up. And I'm going to highlight it. Whoops. Make sure that it's open and lock it open. There we go. Now I can select event classes. I'm going to, again, make sure that in the link, it goes to the page first. Remember to get rid of the Octothorpe. Go to events. And then directly after that, again, we put the, to be even more specific, we go ahead and we put in Octothorpe and we put in classes. So we put in the ID after that. Okie doke. So now what I would like to try to do before we go today, let's go ahead and click on here. Oh, I guess that does it. We're done for today. I'm so sorry. My Lightwave just crashed. So we will finish this up on Thursday. Give this a whirl yourself. Before we end today, though, what I want to make sure that you do is that you're finishing up lesson 11, and as you're working on lesson 11, work from the template that we created in lesson 8, or you can work from the lesson that you're working on in lesson 11 to use as templates for your own personal website. The only thing that I want you to change is the styles and add your own content. One of the last things that I will show you how to do after we finish lesson 11 is to show you how to create a slideshow. And I'm going to use a slideshow called Wow Slider. It's made by the same people who make MobiRise. And I've put those are the slideshows that I use on my website. They're not the end all and the be all, but they work very well for me. And so I want to make sure that you guys are able to see, to create them as well. They're not hard to make. Some people have difficulty inserting them into their page, but that's pretty much it. So again, because it crashed and we're almost at our 11th hour, I'm going to stop for today and we'll continue finishing this lesson up on Thursday, and I'll begin talking about the Wow Slider. Okay, so if there aren't any questions, I'll go ahead and I'll pause the recording. As I said, it gets kind of convoluted how to add that drop-down menu and to make sure that everything works, and adding special targets and that sort of thing. It's not easy. So, and that's the other reason for using the templates. The coding that you've done in the lessons is already done. You don't want to have to reinvent the wheel, but you want to have to know enough where you can go back and make necessary changes so to customize it to make it your own. Okay, because after the class is over, I mean, you can continue to use online website builders, the live web builders, or if you choose to build your own, you'll understand what's going on under the hood, so to speak, and you can begin to modify and create, your own customized pages a little bit more easily. Okay, so that's it. I'll stop recording and I'll say goodbye for now. Okay, bye-bye.